So email etiquette. Before we start, can somebody tell me quickly what is an email? I want for this to be an interactive presentation as per usual. So what is an email? Can someone tell me quickly?
Mr. Dawson in the chat said that an email is an electronic mail.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Dawson. I need something else more than that, as you know, in addition to that. Thanks for that, though, Mr. Dawson. Anyone else want to give it a try? Tell me what's the definition for an email.
Ms. Aldridge, you may go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Aldridge.
Seminar 2020-21. My name is Asha Aldridge from the sponsorship committee, and I would describe an email as a system of sending and receiving messages electronically.
Okay, thank you for that definition. Thanks, Mr. Aldridge. And Aldridge, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, Miss, it's Aldridge.
Aldridge, thank you. Thank you for that definition. Anyone else wants to give another definition or their definition for email?
Miss, in the chat, I'm seeing where Keen is saying that an email is a message sent via the internet, and Anthony said that it's an electronic medium of communication. Dixon indicated that the transferring of messages electronically, and Lynch stated that an email is a way of exchanging information electronically.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thank you very much for all of those definitions. And in terms of what I have here on my presentation, we say that an email is a text-based mail that is sent by the computer from one person to another. So that's a simple definition of what an email is, right? It's a push technology, it waits for you, and it is one-to-many and almost, it's basically free. All right, so an email is just basically a way of communicating with one another by electronic means through the internet, as you would have mentioned. All right, so that's the definition for an email. Now, when it comes on to email etiquette, how do you define email etiquette? You hear the term email etiquette. What is that speaking to?
Miss, I'm seeing where Keen stated the proper procedures and guidelines to follow when sending an email.
Excellent, that's a great response, right? The proper procedures and guidelines that you need to follow when you're sending an email. And the definition that you have here is it's refers to the principles of behavior that one should use when writing or answering email messages. So it's quite close to what is here in your presentation. Because emails are less personal than face-to-face conversation or phone calls, it is important to convey your message as eloquently as possible when writing. So we don't take for granted that if you're sending an email, you have to remember that it's not a text message that you're sending. You're sending out something that you want it to be written in a way where the person who's reading it will not be thinking twice as to who are you even sending the email to. I've seen emails where, for example, you're sending something to your lecturer, your facilitator, and you have not even addressed your facilitator. You don't say good day, there, so and so. There's nothing, no greeting there at the beginning, nothing to say, who are you making reference to? So, things like those are what you need to consider when it comes on to your email etiquette and the habits that you use. Why does it matter, email etiquette? Good email communication skills are part of succeeding in college and on the job. It helps for you to make a good impression, and it makes it more likely that you'll get the response that you want. All right, sometimes emails come in and it's not addressing the person, for example. You don't even want to answer because you're wondering, who is this person really, sending this email to? Who are you addressing? So you want to make a good impression. You ensure that your email is well put together You know, who knows, the way how you public on your email may very well lead you to that job that you so desire by even just how you put on your emails. All right. So that is why it matters. Email habits that cause problems, including multiple subjects, is one. You sending the emails to the wrong recipients. You're displaying addresses of recipients who are strangers to each other. So you're sending out a email to numerous persons who don't know each other. You need to ensure that you, of course, do what? What do you need to do? You're sending out email to several persons and you don't want for others to see. What are you required to do? To others to see the email addresses, all the email addresses. What do you need to do?
Mr. Martin, you may go ahead.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2020-2021. I'm Daniel Martin, a general member of the Secretarial Committee. Michelle should blind copy them.
Right, very good. Thank you very much, Denry. You need to blind copy the persons for who we don't want the other persons to see their email addresses. And replying versus forwarding is also another common and habit, the way you're supposed to be replying, but instead you're forwarding the message or vice versa. All right, so those are some habits that can cause problems. I need to bear them in mind. All right, now having looked at the email etiquette and what it is, we now want to look at the proper structure of an email. Within an email, you should always consider these 5 things when composing an email. We are addressing the email to the subject, the message, what is to be written in the body of the email, the attachments, and the signature. And I'm going to be looking at each of these individually. So where it concerns who you're addressing it to, you know, of course, in the to fields where you'll put the email address for the person whom you're sending the email to. And as we just said just now, you're going to be using BC to protect email addresses. Unless everyone knows each other, then you can use the CC section, right? And we're recommending here that you can maintain an address book so that it makes it easier for you the next time you may be sending out an email to the same group of persons. The subject of the email should be a precise headline for the message, right? And you should avoid sending an email with no subject. I've seen that before where emails have come in and no subject. With no subject.
Ms. Campbell, your microphone is on. Ms. Anissa Campbell, thank you very much.
You should avoid sending email thanks with no subject as well. Always ensure that you have a subject line there. So has something entered in your subject line. All right. The next thing is the text of the body of the email. You should try to keep your message focused and readable. Keep it short. Ensure it's clear. Use paragraphs if you need to, and avoid fancy typefaces. All right, that is something you should avoid in your, especially in your formal emails. All right. And where the 4th thing is concerned, attachments, you're to use them sparingly. You can cut and paste relevant parts of attachments into the text or the email. And you're also encouraged at times to use URL links instead. All right, so consider these when it comes on to attachments. And for the 5th part, which is the signature, you are required to use an appropriate signature. Keep your signature to 4 to 5 lines is good. Provide all of your contact information. And they're suggesting here that you not include pictures, quotes, and animations. Now, especially the quotes was new to me because I've seen several email signatures with quotes added to it. And so when I saw this, I said, I guess it's something for me to do further research on. But it's been suggested here that you try to avoid quotes with your email signatures. All right. Now, having heard about the format of an email, we have here a sample email that needs some work. I'd want for somebody, can somebody come on and read this for me, please? This is an email that we're saying needs some work. Who's gonna come on and read this for me? Just raise your hands and come on, read this.
Miss Dougherty, you may go ahead.
Okay. I've been working on the homework for like 2 hours and I don't get it. What's the point and what am I supposed to do? I've got way too much going on and have to work tonight.
And in the last part, Jim. Now, if you get this email and I want somebody else to come on, what would be your response when you see this?
Miss Leslie, may go ahead.
How would you feel after you've seen an email like this?
Miss Leslie, you may go ahead in answering the question.
Good evening, accounting seminar 2020-2021. I am Felisa Leslie, supervisor of the Accounting and Finance Committee.
Hi, good evening, Felicia.
First of all,
this email, what would you?
I don't think I would reply to it,
Okay.
because if it was something, well, first of all, I wouldn't understand what the person is trying to say, so I would
Go ahead.
So I would either send it to, well, I would just leave it on unread.
Okay, you would do anything
Personally.
with it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Felisa. I see where Orlando raised his hand. So Felisa said she wouldn't respond to it. What would you do, Orlando? You can go ahead.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2021. My name is Orlando Dawson from the Audit Committee. Miss,
Yes.
good
evening. Yes.
I wouldn't respond. I wouldn't respond to it because, in my defense, an email like this, worded like this, with unspelled words and all sort of things, I don't know how to explain it. Miss, this could be used. This email could be used for phishing. So if you respond to it, you have a chance of actually sending out your information out there for persons to use. So even though I might be familiar with Tim, I don't know if it's from Tim because it doesn't word properly.
Right. Interesting. Thank you very much for that response, Orlando. So I hear you. Anybody else? One other person to come on and tell me what do you do if you receive this? I'm listening to hear if I get anything different. Put yourself in the seat of a teacher then.
Miss Johnson, you may go ahead.
Good evening, accounting seminar facilitators and the general body. I am Shakira Johnson, the Accounting and Finance Committee Director. Upon receiving this email, if it's a busy day for me, or let's say for the person's working, when you see the message comes in with no subject, then you will think it's not of that important. So maybe you will ignore the message. That's the first thing, with no subject. Upon reading it after maybe a day or two, then you would be confused as to what should I do. Maybe someone sent this by an error. Maybe this was a child just doing something this is not up to the standard of maybe university students or something. So you'll just leave it at that and say, oh, maybe this is a mistake. As persons in the chat said, maybe it was a spam or something. So that's my...
All right, thank you very much, Shakira. Thank you. And it's funny, as you said, it may not necessarily have been at the university level, but probably it's a high school student who did this. But I've seen emails sent before where, for example, the student is typing as if they're writing as if they're typing a text message, and so they have the word shortened without and like the U, instead of putting YOU, they have U and things like that. So I've actually seen it before, and so these are the things which we're pointing out to say that we have to be mindful when we're sending our emails to remember that we're not sending a text message for argument's sake. So thank you very much for those responses. On the next screen, I'll show you what, is actually appropriate. So you see we have here the subject, technical reporting dash memo question. It says here, dear Miss Guard, I am a student. I should have let somebody read it, but I started to read it already. I'm a student in your technical reporting class, and I'm confused about today's homework assignment. I would appreciate it if you could explain what you mean by an incident report. Is there a place in the textbook where I can find an example? Thank you very much for your help. Sincerely, Jim. And if you notice there, Jim have his signature at the bottom with his name, email address, and contact number. So can you see the difference? Anybody wants to comment on this? So the stark difference between what was there before and what is there now. This is what we expect, coming from students. Well, as facilitators, we expect the email of this sort, right? You want to go ahead, Nichelle?
Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2020-2021. My name is Nichelle, right, and I'm a general member of the sponsorship committee. So some of the differences that I've noticed from this email versus the one earlier is that firstly, there's a subject. Secondly, there's a salutation, followed by a comma, which of course the punctuation mark, and then the person skipped a line, did the body. We have proper punctuations by the use of quotes, question marks, and full stops. And then at the end, they skipped another line and then they expressed, I don't know what that is called, but the end part when they're, basically telling in advance, thank you for your help. And then he provided his contact information at the bottom along with his signature.
All right, thank you very much for those. And you did point them, those are actually all correct. All right, so bear this in mind, students. When sending your emails, this is what we want to see, and this is what you're expected to send, right? And I would encourage you, if you don't have an email signature, to try to get one done. I've seen email signatures coming from a number of you, and for others who don't have one, I'm recommending that you get one as well. All right. So just to wrap up email etiquette, steps to remember. As part of an email, there is the reply to. This is the email address of the recipient where the message will be sent, and it is advised to fill in this last. Some persons will recommend this. Some persons will say, you can fill it in at the beginning. But I guess to avoid you sending off the email before you're finished typing what it is that you need to send, then they're saying it's advised for you to fill in the reply section last. The subject, of course, remember this is a description of the topic of the message and displays the main point of what the email will convey. So you're not going to send an email without the subject. The body, this contains a text that is the actual content, and it must include your salutation, your appropriate line spacing, and be grammar free. And at the end, a closing with one signature must be seen. All right, and reminder, never forget your attachments to an email. So in summarizing some email tips, try to be concise, indicate your contact information, be mindful of your tone, spelling, and grammar. Always proofread before you send off your emails. Do not write in capital letters. Be polite as you would in normal conversations, and add a signature block with the contact details necessary. Continuing with the tips, read over before you send. Make sure you have no spelling or, similar to what was just on the previous slides. And here we have, be sure you have not made your email too emotional or angry. All right. And an example is here, dear Mr. Smith, I'm just tearing my hair out trying to figure out how to tell you that I can't finish my essay in time. I'm totally freaking out. So you don't want to send that in an email to your teacher at all. Carefully decide who will see your email. So be careful not to click on reply all when you do not want everyone to see your reply. There's sometimes I guess in the work environment, you find that some emails will come to you and persons will be hitting reply to all when they don't need to. I think that can be such a turn off. If it is that you don't need to reply to all in the particular email that's sent to you, then you just reply to the individual who sent it, right? When you click CC, the person you reply to will be able to see who you are sending a copy to, but when you click BCC, remember that the person you reply to will not see who you are sending a copy to. And that completes the presentation. Are there any questions that you have?